Guys, we've got a 12-team Superflex PPR 1.75 tight end premium start 10. Scott, are you going the 104 or the 108 and a 25 first? Let's call it projected mid-late. Go ahead, man.
Well, good evening, everybody. This is a question that I've already run into myself, and Shane and I talked through it in the Mannequin Show that's going to be debuting here shortly, where we went through and just broke down the rookie tiers. That's probably what a lot of questions are going to be about tonight. So it's interesting that the draft class is kind of in like these weird sets of two, these pairs from 1 and 2, 3 and 4. So you are trading out of a tier here, probably either Jaden Daniels or Malik Neighbors, depending on how sensitive your QB market is. But I could look at this and say, you know what? If this is Roma Dunze in a first for Malik Neighbors, I like it. If this is JJ McCarthy or Drake May in a first for Jaden Daniels, I like it. So if it fits that criteria and you don't have a very specific need where you say, man, I really have to get a quarterback with upside, or I really want Malik Neighbors because he's wide receiver 8 already, and like you can stomach giving up the potential super stud, I'm okay taking this deal. I think I like the 108 and the 25 first, especially if what I'm chasing is just a best player available or a receiver, especially. I think the Adunze in a first for Neighbors is where I feel real good about doing this. So, yeah, I'm good with it. Yeah. I'll take the package here.
What do you think, Shane? Obviously, there's a million variables at play when it comes to something like this, in terms of economy of your league, construction, or whatever. But in a vacuum, do you like the package here? Does that seem like a pretty fair?
That's pretty handily that. I'm just looking at the KTC rookie rankings. I know everyone hates KTC. Oh, well, too bad. Looking at it with the tight end premium, Brocklin Bowers is 5th overall. So at 8, we'd be looking at JJ McCarthy in a first, Drake May in a first, or Xavier Worthy in a first. Now, I do like Neighbors a lot. I don't think Neighbors would be there at 104, though, to be quite honest with you. I think he's gone by 103. So, yeah, I'll take this package all day.
All day. All right, let's move on to a hammer. We've got only 111 eyeballs in here. We have to send out a message on Twitter being like, remember, only on the YouTube machine tonight. So let's go to DAZN. Thank you very much for the hammer. Much appreciated. Actually, 3 rather. Nice. This is a 12-team Superflex PPR start 10. Kyler, Rogers, and Trash Cans a quarterback. Puka, Garrett Wilson at... Wait, did I do this one? Did I do this one yesterday with Theo? Does this sound familiar? Yes, I did. Apologies. Let me go to this one right here from Lieutenant Lollipop. This is a 12-team Superflex PPR 1.75 tight end premium start 11. Quarterbacks are Burrow, Watson, Geno, Dobbins, B-Rob, Mostert, a running back, Amon-Ra, Waddle, Flowers, Jaden Reed, Thielen, and Cams, Laporta, and Waller at tight ends. Pick-wise, just has the 204, 6, 8. And then he has a 303 and 310. He said startup draft was a month ago. I feel like this team can't quite compete this year, but I also don't know what players to move off of if I go the rebuild route. What direction should I go, and what should my first steps be? So, Shane, we're going to start with you on this one. 12-team Superflex, start 11, tight end premium. What are you doing with this team? Just looking for some advice. Start with that QB room. Burrow, Watson, Geno.
It's not feeling great because Watson is questionable. Geno is a short-term asset. Dobbins is probably going to get smoked and ethered by Kamani Vidal. B-Rob's fine. Mostert's going to end up losing his job to Jalen Warren. Is that the correct one? Is that who landed there? You got 2 good wide receivers. I think he's right on point. It's start 11. It's decent for start 11, but it's definitely thin. Like, the running backs are not good, and you don't have a good option at quarterback too, unless Watson completely turns it around from last year, which sure he could do. Waller's probably going to retire, so I'd be looking to trade him as soon as I can.
Yeah. Scott, what are your thoughts, Scott, in terms of, he was like, I can't decide if I should rebuild because I don't know if I'm going to be able to compete this year. Where's your head at in terms of which direction to go?
Well, I mean, he just drafted this team very recently.
A month ago.
But you kind of looking, he probably took Burrow in the first, probably took Amon-Ra and Sam Laporta in the second and third, maybe Waddle in the fourth, and then Flowers, Reed, Watson in the fifth, sixth, seventh, whatever it was. But doesn't this feel like this build was a team that just stuck and picked as Shane disappears? Doesn't it feel like a team that just stuck, picked, hasn't had a ton go right since the startup draft? Meaning, like, we don't really have any players here where you're like, wow, they gained a ton of value. I can now split them.
This is a tough one. This is a really tough team.
Well, and
we
didn't get any picks. We didn't have any firsts. So we don't have any flexibility in terms of draft capital. But we also have guys like Adam Thielen, Darren Waller, old running backs. It kind of feels like this team was like just the tip in, but not quite all the way in. And now the fun is over. So it feels like this team has to break up one of those studs. Like, do I tear off Laporta? Do I tear off of Burrow? Do I tear off Amon-Ra? I don't want to do that. But I also have a bunch of peripheral picks that I can't sell. Like, I can't sell Raheem Mostert. Probably can't sell Brian Robinson, Geno Smith, Darren Waller, Adam Thielen. I talked about this with Rich Rebar a couple weeks ago. Are people excited right now to give up any draft pick with a 1 in front of it to get Jaden Reed?
No. It's
Zay Flowers. It's like those guys are just there. They're nice. But if there's the thought of I can get Michael Penix or one of these new receivers, those guys all of a sudden take the back seat. Now, are they worse than the receivers that are going there? No. But there's no flexibility with this team. So unless you're willing to split, I think you almost have to kind of run with it. And this might be a team I consider trading my future picks.
Yeah, I had a chance to think about this while I was taking out my contacts.
You seem a little bit louder, contact guy.
Yeah, so I'm trading Amon-Ra for a first and a player. I'm trading Waddle for first and a player. I'm trading Flowers for any first I can get. I'm trading Reed for any first I can get. By any, I mean 24, 25. Adam Thielen, I'm not even mentioning him as an asset. If you're mentioning Adam Thielen as an asset, then things aren't going great.
Here's what I'll just say this. This is why if you're doing, it doesn't apply to now because we're already basically in May, but when you're making picks in the startup before the draft, with a team like this, why are you drafting Adam Thielen? Why are we drafting Geno Smith as my QB3? Why are we drafting Darren Waller? I get the running backs. I'm fine drafting every running back, Dobbins, Mostert, who cares? If they expire, they expire. But like, I would never use a startup pick. I don't care if it's round 15 on an Adam Thielen, on Darren Waller. Now what? Even if those guys play, you can't sell them. You're lucky to even sell them. So it feels like, shouldn't you have just taken another 2 third-round picks in the rookie draft? At least you would feel better about having 4 thirds.
Yeah, I'd rather have the 307 than Thielen. Anything.
Correct.
Good stuff. Thank you for that, Hammer. Lieutenant Lollipop. Much appreciated. And I imagine we have a few starred in here from the crowd. We will put it up from Johnny Detroit. What's up, man? Thanks for the question or comment here. I passed on Caleb for Marvin Harrison Jr., took Daniels at the 103. I feel queasy that I may have messed up. Scott was shaking his head. You got to start first.
Well, I said it at the beginning. Marv and Caleb are in the same tier. Daniels and Neighbors are in the same tier. McCarthy and May are in the same tier. Adunze and Bowers, depending on the format, are in the same tier. If you're at the 101 and you can't trade down with the 102 and you can't trade for a veteran, you have to pick. There's worlds where I would go, okay, I have Anthony Richardson, Patrick Mahomes, and Dak Prescott. I'm not taking Caleb Williams, And then there's teams where you're glad you got Caleb and you would love to trade up to make sure you get him. So I don't think it's not a mistake. If you couldn't trade with 102 and you knew you had 103, you just picked the combo that you wanted. You could have gotten either Caleb and Neighbors and you went Marv and Daniels. It's 50-50. I think Shane probably sees it the exact same way.
Yeah, this is first world problems. I don't feel bad for Johnny Detroit even a little bit. Oh, I had the 101 and the 103. I was forced to take 2 of the elite two of the generational talents. Boo hoo! Like, get out of here, bro.
He
There's
was
a
like,
good
I was
problem
getting
for
all
that.
these inbox offers while I was
Yeah.
on the clock at 103. And
It's a problem.
Clay,
when
let's
you
say
don't- it's a problem when you don't have the 103 and you're looking at your team going, I really could use a quarterback, but Marvin Harrison is also probably better than every wide receiver I have on my team. Then that's a problem. Then it's like, all right, what do I do?
Well, answer that, Shane. So let's say you desperately need a QB. You have the 102 and the 104. What are you willing to pay to get one of those picks in the position where you choose? Because you could end up going, I get Marvin Harrison and Malik Neighbors, and I don't get a QB because I don't want to pick Drake May or JJ McCarthy over Malik Neighbors. So how much would you be willing to pay? Because if I see you have that problem, I'm going, man, what can I get Clay to pay to move up from that 102 to the 101? It's a first, second swap. Like, I'm going to make it hurt a little bit if I know that's what you're after. So it's a tough spot to be. What are you willing to pay?
We'll give you a second. You will not hold me over.
Probably not going to get it done, right?
Then you know what? Then I trade back and I go take JJ McCarthy or Drake May later in the draft and try to pick up another first, as opposed to letting you hold me hostage and forcing me to give you another first. Although I would really like to do that. So if I had the first available, I definitely would do it.
So Fantasy Football Life, thank you for the question. He says, when the 201 is on the clock, so what is this? What is this? What is this language? When the 201 is on the clock, since when did that pick become? Oh, this isn't that bad to read. My bad. When the 201 is on the clock, since when did that pick become worth a future first? I mean, people still get firsts for the 201. I mean, it tends to be a very, very shallow league, or casual league. What do you think, Scott?
It's going to be hard to get a 25 first, but you can try. But I've done a couple deals where I've gotten 26 first, 3 deals where I've gotten 26 first using a pick 110 or later. Essentially just letting people pick their players there and see if I can kick it to a future first. So 2026 is probably we have to pivot to, but historically you'd rather have the first. There's good players there, but not players that I feel so convicted on that I have to take. I'd rather have the first in my back pocket, even if it's a year out. I'd rather have that, especially if my team is constructed in a way where it's close to where I want it to be. And this is kind of viewed as, hey, what could go right if I hit on Xavier Worthy or Brian Thomas or Bo Nix or Ladd McConkey or whoever it is? What could go right? It's like maybe somebody will give me a first then. Maybe somebody give me a 25 first. But there's no risk. I'm just getting out of the pick today.
Somebody put up something. Was that Shane?
Where'd it go?
Not sure.
There you go. Since 6 quarterbacks went to top 12. I mean, that has a lot to do with it, right? It's pushing other players down the draft that typically you would have to be earlier in the first round to get. And as long as I've been playing for 36 years now. There's been people that are willing to give up future first for second round picks. I don't think not that I don't think it's a terrible idea to do that. There's people that'll do it, like, even in non-casual leagues.
We did that one too. Steven. All right, Scott, we're going to start with you on this one. Steven, thank you for the 3 hammers. This is a 12-team Superflex start 12, 3 running backs, 4 wide receivers. It's Superflex, obviously. Tiered PPR, and it looks like a 0.2 point per carry, 6 point per passing touchdown. Quarterbacks are Hurts, Bryce Young, Darnold, and trash cans. Bijan, Monty, Singletary at running back. Garrett Wilson, Pittman, Curtis Samuel, and then Freiermuth at tight end. Has the 101 and 105. How do I prioritize positions in this format? And then he says, is Caleb Williams still the 101? Let's do this. Before we hit this second part, I want to get your thoughts on how to construct, Scott, in this format. Deep, 12 teams, start 12. It's start 3 running back. It's a legit format. What are you doing here?
Well, if it's a start 12, you have quarterback, super flex, 3 running backs, 4 receivers. So right there, that's 9. We don't know if it's 2 tight end. I assume it's not. So you have a tight end and then you have 2 flexes. So you can essentially take the roster construction series format and add a little bit to the running backs and the receivers. So here, Marv, I would take over Caleb Williams. Quarterbacks, I'm in a league like this. This is a 12-team start 15. So it's not quite this, but it's 3 running backs, 4 receivers, 2 tight ends. You look at the quarterback war, it's quarterbacks are devalued. That's the easiest way to say it. They're valuable, but they're also devalued relative to the skill players. So here's what I would do. I would take Marv at 101. 105, if Neighbors is there, it's a smash. But with the point per carry, I'm kind of interested in, you know who's really valuable if they hit here? One of the running backs. Like Jonathan Brooks would be the guy I would want to get here. I don't want to pay the 105, but if I could get him at 108, 109, like I would take him over McCarthy and May. It would be a debate because it's point per carry and it's start 3 running backs.
Yeah, that can't
like
be,
I'm looking
that
at
can't be
like
understated.
Here, if you have a 4th running back that's like Chase Brown, you know, that type, like that's valuable because everybody's got to start 3. So being able to add skill players here.
So let's do this.
What wins or loses.
Yeah, let's go to this second part. And he said, is Caleb Williams still the 101 or Marv? Scott's saying, yeah, definitely go Marv in this case. Or
if you could trade back and get 2 starters, I'm okay trading Marv. If you could turn Marv into Neighbors and 110 and get Jonathan Brooks, I would do that. But I just don't want to pick a quarterback because it's a super flex. I have Jalen Hurts already. I already have a positional advantage. Now Bryce Young's my QB too. Like that's, but what I've found in the leagues I've been in like this, people need skill players so badly that when somebody has a 3rd QB, they're willing to sell you more likely a Gardner Minshew type if you give them a startable running back. So shouldn't be that hard to get.
It shouldn't be that hard to get. Yeah, like a QB4, another Darnold type, something like that. Let's keep moving here. Shane, dialed in, baby. We have a hammer dialed in on mute. That's good. Thank you, Andrew, for the hammer. Much appreciated. This one is not as deep. It is a 10-team Superflex half PPR start 11. Has Purdy, Russ, and backups at quarterback. Literally trash at running back. Wide receivers are London, Waddle. It's never going to get old. London, Waddle, Pickens at wide receiver, and then Fant and Kraft at tight end. 101, 105, 7, and then has the 201, 205, 208. Looks like he has a 25 first, 2 seconds, and 26 might have 3 first there. So the trade is give London and the 107, get the 108, Jaden Reed, Wicks, and a 26 first. Activity levels mid. And the last part here, Shane, is decided to burn things down this offseason. Other owner doesn't have any 25 firsts. Okay.
Yeah, we need to Elmo GIF.
Yeah, let me just say this again real quick. 10-team Superflex half PPR start 11. And the trade is give London the 107. You are getting 108, Reed, Wicks, and a 26 first. Go ahead, Shane.
That feels like a shell game right there, right? Like, so I'm actually losing a pick in the draft, which is pretty significant in this draft. So what I'm getting for losing a slot in this draft is Reed, Dontavian Wicks, who I don't mean this in a mean way. I'm sure he's a lovely human being or not. I don't really care. But when it comes to fantasy, is this best ball? No, it's lineup. I don't care about Dontavian Wicks, not even a little bit, not even remotely, not even a little bit. I already said that. So in short, London for
in short,
Reed and a 26 first. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I will repeat that again. If he doesn't have a 25 first or she doesn't have a 25 first, guess what? There are 9 other people. Wait, 8, because you can't trade with yourself. There are 8 other people in this league that you can go to look to make a deal. There's no deal to be had here unless they're going to kick in a better receiver than Dontavian Wicks.
Yeah, I would feel queasy if I made this trade. I'd be like, oh, what did I just do? What do you think, Scott? I mean, you're down to collect 26 first, mid-activity league, but is this close? I mean, you're giving up the 2 best pieces in the deal.
Yeah, but did the picks really matter here? Again, 10-team start 11. I don't care about quarterbacks. So I don't care about May, don't care about McCarthy. So if that's May versus McCarthy, then doesn't really matter. Now, where that 107, 108 matters is maybe a Dunze falls, and I value him a lot higher than one of the quarterbacks here. So you're giving up the better piece. plus the better receiver just to tack on the first. Tell you what, I don't hate it. We talk about selling Drake London high. I think most formats, I would take a first and Jaden Reed for Drake London.
But it's a 10-team half PPR.
Exactly. It's a half PPR, and it's a shallow league, meaning Drake London better be exactly where he's valued. Otherwise, he's on the fringe of like just a flex here. It depends on what you can do with the first.
If you want to move Drake London, which I'm all aboard to move Drake London train, it's a half PPR. Why don't you move him for something that's actually useful in this league, like a running back? Because Reed is a watered down, devalued version of Drake London, assuming Drake London does what he's supposed to, and Christian Watson doesn't blow his calf out in week 1. Clay, I think.
Oh, you missed the news. It happened today.
It already happened today, or it will soon happen. But not the trash Reed, because I do like Reed. But yeah, no, I get Scott's point, but I think I'd rather use London in another way than this.
So let me ask you: would you trade Drake London in your 26 first for Puka Nacua?
Yes.
See, I wouldn't blow my 26 first just for that type of upgrade, but that's probably where Shane and I see the trade differently, right? That's throwing a first around recklessly, hoping for.
What's the difference in scoring between them last year? Yeah. I'm just asking 8 points a game. Something wrong, dude. If I was still married, I'd give up my wife for that deal. You kidding me? You get 8 points a game upgrade for a 26 first, which my favorite thing to say.
Shane, how can you sell me on? You can sell me on that based on last year, but then turn around and won't take Jaden Reed in a first for Drake London, and Jaden Reed was as better than Drake London.
Jaden Reed was actually better than Drake London. He was better than Drake London.
So how does that logic track?
3 points a game. Because
that's a trade on both sides. That it's like neither side makes sense if you put them together.
This is going nowhere if we ask him to explain himself.
It's player
transitive property trade questions are not player good
conviction. Puka Nacua did something that 4 other receivers in the history of football have ever done. Is scored in the range that he scored as a rookie. Jaden Reed had a very nice rookie year. He didn't have that. Drake London he's still Drake London. I would still like to sell Drake London high. I just don't think that's selling him high.
Scott, Tommy C has a hammer for us. Thank you very much. This is a 10-team Superflex PPR. Start 9, 4-point per passing touchdown. Love T-Law at quarterback, Kyron Spears, Zeke at running back, Puka, Flowers, Higgins, Ridley, and then at tight end, McBride and Mandrews. Has the 102, 105, 9, and then a 206 and an early third. Has 225 firsts. He says, can I get a 105 price check? Already tried and failed to buy hammers. So what do you think here, Scott? Shallow format, 10-team Superflex, half PPR, start 9.
Well, let's welcome back Ezekiel Elliott to the list of assets that people are going to start adding. So there's that. This team also has the greatest receiver in the history of football, Puka Nacua. Shane just laid that out 3 minutes ago. Thank you, Shane. I think if you could sell that 105 for any receiver in that DK Metcalf, Brandon Ayuk, Michael Pittman range, that's probably what you're chasing. Truthfully, it's a 10-team start 9. Like getting JJ McCarthy or Drake May here doesn't move the needle. If you get Roma Dunze, that'd be a great pick. But even then, what are you really getting? This is there's a reason you can't get a hammer with the 105 in a 10-team start 9, because all the hammers are probably spoken for. You probably have to add at least a future first to get a top 20 skill player asset. Could you buy somebody that maybe is devalued but could be a hammer in this format? Could you buy Jonathan Taylor? Somebody like that doesn't have the name cachet where you go, man, he's going to be hard to get. But if he's good, he's clearly a hammer in a 10-team start 9, half PPR. That's what I'd try to do with it. You're not buying a quote-unquote hammer receiver with the 105, not in a 10-teamer. People probably look at those QBs and go, nah, man, I don't really have interest drafting Drake May or even Roma Dunze or Brock Bowers in this format.
Would you try 105 and the 109? 105 and 109 for Jahmyr Gibbs. Well, not would you try it. Would you be willing to offer it? Would you be willing to give that up?
I mean, yeah.
The format.
he's attempting to probably add volume to get quality and hasn't been able to do it. So maybe Gibbs. That's why I suggested Taylor, because I think if he's good, he could be a hammer, but the community isn't going to go, he's untradeable.
Yeah.
But I mean, if he's good here in a shallow half PPR, you're going, hell yeah, I'm glad I gave up Roma Dunze for Jonathan Taylor. So I think in this format, you got to be creative. You got to be willing to be a little uncomfortable. The pick isn't great.
So real quick, there's a couple other parts. I got to start putting page breaks in for myself to keep it easy. Offer of the 105 for Nico, Kamara, and some sort of sweetener. So he'd be getting Nico, Kamara, and something. I've convinced myself that Nico, even with Diggsdale, could/should be considered greater than or equal to a Dunze.
I'm taking. I just said I would trade this.
Let me
pick
just
for
finish this last part. Sorry, is that crazy? We'll wait until after the draft in case a Dunze goes to an ideal spot. Chargers. Oh, this was like pre-NFL draft. What do you think, Scott? Sorry,
I'm taking Nico Collins and Alvin Kamara and running for the hills. It's exactly what I said to do, and I'm getting Alvin Kamara for free. Easy.
This was start 9.
10 team start 9 half PPR. So you're just doing that, huh? You're gonna take a Kamara may smash.
Well, I'm also reading this as none of the top 20 assets are available.
Yeah.
So there is no adding a first to this to get AJ Brown. Like you're not doing that. So the only way you get anything value out of here is you go down.
Wow, that always brings value.
And I don't value quarterbacks at all here. None of the quarterbacks have any value here.
One of the few ways you can get a top 20 asset is by drafting Roma Dunze at 105.
But you're getting Kamara for free.
I get that. I like Kamara. He's fine enough. He's also 47 years old. And I think the hope and the thought with the Dunze is he's a guy that can be a top 10 dynasty receiver, right? At a minimum, if he hits his upside. And I think the contrary feeling or the contrarian feeling, I don't know, on Nico is that's softer, right? If he has a little bit of a downturn, the market's going to be like, I told you he wasn't that good, and now he's got Diggs and Dell to contend with. So that's my only concern there.
The rest of the league listens to trades in 5, and they take a Dunze at 104 because they don't value quarterback. Nice. Then what?
Nice. And then who's left on the board? Drake May and
Jaden Daniels is there.
Jaden Daniels and wait, are we still talking about the previous trade, the 4-point per passing touchdown? I will take Jaden Daniels, please.
Yeah, I'll take Jaden.
Yep. Okay, let's Nate Liss in the house. Nate, man.
Oh, Nate.
I've been trying to reach out to you, bro. Got to get you back on for a hammer stream. He says, how do I get that spiffy hat Shane is rocking? Yeah. We're going to hang tight on that for now because I'm going to launch a merch store where we got these spiffy hats. Look at all this crap I have on it. What is this?
Nate, just send me your address. DM me your address. I'll send you this used one if you'd like it. It's got a distinct Shane musk to it, which just adds value.
I hope you're well, Mr. Liss. Let's go to this one right here from Ethan. He said he's on the clock at 105. I wonder if he still is. On the clock at 105, if all 3 wide receivers plus Caleb are gone, do I reach for wide receiver 4 or grab QB2? Guess he's not on the clock. Have Hurts, Caleb, Deshaun Watson at quarterback, Neighbors at wide receiver, and Laporta. No trade back offer since they hope I let a QB fall. Been hard to move Hurts, Caleb, Watson. And he says the format's 12-team, Superflex start 9.
I'm just confused by the
Shane
format.
Follows this.
Is some of this is he drafted rookies for this year last year and they're already on his roster, but then they get to be drafted again this year?
I'm guessing
that's the only way that makes sense.
I'm guessing he already took Caleb Williams with one of those picks.
Okay.
And then the next 3 picks were, I would hope if he had his choice in that team, he didn't go Caleb thinking this exact scenario would happen. But let's assume he had 101 and 105. He went Caleb Williams, and then they rip off the 3 receivers. Now they dare him to take another QB.
But he has Neighbors, unless that's Neighbors' brother. Does Neighbors have a brother we don't know about? I'm very confused now.
Yeah, I missed Neighbors in there. Yeah, maybe he did take Neighbors.
Okay,
maybe he had 101 and 103, and he went Caleb Neighbors. That has to be it, right?
Okay, yes. So then Dunze and Marvin Harrison are obviously off the board. Man, this is one of those. We don't have how many teams and starters and all that is, but it's really hard.
It's 12 teams start 9 super flex.
Exactly.
Wouldn't you have
Oh,
played
it's
this differently then and tried to get
Yeah.
Marv Neighbors and then you take the quarterback?
And then I would have just taken whatever
falls?
quarterback that landed to me. That's how I would
How
have
good would
done
you
it.
feel if you got Marv Neighbors and Jaden Daniels? Then
I
you
would.
played it right. You know what I mean?
I'd need a bathroom break. Yeah. I don't know that you can pass up on Jaden Daniels here, and I don't see anything about a tight end premium, so I can't
He
even
put it in the
tell
chat.
you go Brock.
So he had 3 of the top 4 and went Marv, Caleb, Neighbors, and now Adunze went, and now he wants to know what to do. I mean, talk about first world problems, even.
Well, no, but we've talked about this a few times, Ethan. The way you should have played that is exactly like Scott said. That should have been receiver. Let someone else take the quarterback, and then you would have had your choice. But we are where we are.
He did, though. If I have 4 of the top 5 and I'm getting Marv, Caleb, Neighbors, and Jaden Daniels, I'm just taking the top 4 players and walking away. I didn't realize that I assumed he had gotten sniped, but then you realize he actually had all the picks.
I hate having an overfilled quarterback room, but I'd have to take Daniels here.
Yes.
Yeah.
We already got Neighbors and Caleb and Marv. So it's not like you missed out.
It's a good day at the wide receiver.
You're literally you're taking Daniels over Roma Dunze's off the board. So you're taking him over Brian Thomas Jr. or Xavier Worthy. So yeah, let's do that.
So this one is good. And Scott or Shane starred this one from the Fantasy Plumber, one of our OGs. Thought we'd have a good conversation around this. I'm loving how devalued this RB class is in drafts. Who wants to talk first about this? Because I dig it. There's good running backs, or hopefully good running backs there, like awfully late in this draft. So go ahead, Shane.
So Scott and I did a Mannequin Chill episode yesterday, several hours. And I will tell you, no, there are not good running backs late in this draft. They dry up very quickly in the 3rd round. And if people actually value them in your league even a little bit, they will start flying off the board in the mid to late 2nd. And by the time you get to the 3rd, you're looking at, what was his name? Rasheen Ali, who I might have just put a waiver claim in one of our leagues because it's only 3 rounds. I don't think the running backs are being devalued at all. I've seen Jonathan Brooks and KTC is going at 112 before the draft. I don't think any of us had a running back in the top 12, although we kind of knew that was going to happen with whoever the running back 1 was. I think they're being valued correctly. Trey Benson and Blake Corum generally go off the board before 205. So all 3 of the running backs that were drafted in I believe they were all the 3rd round. I might be wrong. Sorry. Go off in I'm missing one, right? Marshawn Lloyd went in the 3rd round as well. But 3 of these running backs are off the board before the 205. I don't think it's devalued at all, to be honest with you.
What do you think, Scott?
I think we're just at a point where we're valuing running backs correctly. If I draft a running back, you know what I expect? Opportunities over the first 3 years of their career to start them a couple times. That's the expectation, nothing more. We've finally gotten to a point in Dynasty where we're actually viewing the position that way. If the analysis starts with something like, man, that guy's blocked and is never going to take over the entire backfield, that's like 95% of running backs coming into the league you're hoping, and people are going to scoff at this, you're hoping to have like Alexander Madison's career, to where you had a dozen games over his career where you could have played him. That's it. Never to sell for a first, or never that they become the next Kareem Hunt or Alvin Kamara, or it's an outlier to even get a Rashad White out of a guy where you get multiple years of just in a situation where they're getting a ton of work. So finally, we're at a point where you can go, okay, I can get Ray Davis or Will Shipley in the 3rd of a draft. And if they become a committee back that gives you some starts, that's worth picking. Whereas I think the mistake we've made in the past is seeing guys that are in that same range that go in the 3rd or 4th, and we assess them like, man, when are they going to take over that job? When the NFL team is drafting them to never take over the job. They're like, hopefully they're a contributor, but that's it. So I think it's just this receiver class. it's not a great receiver class, but there's enough receiver names that people are going, man, I just have to take Malachi Corley, Roman Wilson, Jermaine Burton. I got to take all those guys in the second before we get to the running backs, so they do feel like a value. And we know if any of those running backs are worth a month of starts during the season. Look, just riddle me this, Clay. You have Jalen Wright, Will Shipley, Ray Davis. They have an injury. They're starting for a month. Are you really moving that wide receiver 77 Malachi Corley for them during the season?
Not
when
a
Corley
chance.
is maybe he becomes a Darnell Mooney type. All of a sudden during the season, you're going, man, I really wish I would have taken shots on more running backs. Now, if they end up being Tank Bigsby or Roshan Johnson, you got nothing. You got a bench fodder player, but also a player that still is an asset going forward because you never know when the opportunity is going to come. So they're different bets. They're not value bets. They're usability equity bets.
One thing about that too, though, I know we bury these running backs after the first year when basically we probably should tempered our expectations anyway for someone like Roshan Johnson. But the difference between them and a wide receiver that produces at that relatively terrible level is that wide receiver is completely dead for fantasy purposes. There's no coming back from it. Where a running back, even if I draft Roshan Johnson last year and he gave me absolutely nothing, you know what there's still a chance of? Him giving me a start at some point this year or start next year. After that, I probably cut ties because he's been replaced by like whoever, you know, every 2 years we cycle him out.
That I want to highlight that. That's a great point by Shane, because the flaw with evaluating Roshan Johnson of taking him in the second last year is what? Man, Khalil Herbert's going to get out of the way and Roshan's going to take over. And what did the team do? Kept Khalil Herbert and added someone way better. So they went the other way than what you were betting. But to Shane's point, if you drafted Marvin Mims last year over Roshan Johnson, you now have an asset that the climb back is extremely low, meaning Roshan right now doesn't have a role, but in 2025, you could be going, okay, he could get some run and he could be startable. So I do think that's a great point. If you're willing to just bet on running backs staying around, year 4, a guy like Damian Pierce could be on another team and he's getting work. And you're going, yeah, that was a bad pick, but what's a bad pick is wasting those picks on those receivers. If you don't hit and you don't get anything you can flip, they immediately become roster cloggers.
Right. Like Mr. B points out, Jonathan Mingo versus Roshan Johnson last year. One of those dudes, if I drafted both those dudes and I'm adding rookies to my team this year and there's one roster spot, I'm over the limit. It's Jonathan Mingo gone without even a shadow of a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, running backs are moved throughout the entire season too. You know, they're liquid. I always go back to the Ty Chandler example, but you know, you saw him being slung around. You're glad you have a third if you need him, or you're glad to get a third if you've got Ty Chandler, but you don't see like a Marvin Mims or something like move for a piece.
Now, to your point, Clay, if you could get Ty Chandler in a third instead of drafting Will Shipley, then do Ty Chandler in a third. You know what I mean? So there's a game you can play, but it's more about the equity of what you're getting out of the running back position versus I don't draft running backs for value. I think that's the point.
Yeah. And I just wanted to point out that I got Will Shipley at the 213. So technically the 301. So technically I got Will Shipley in the third round this afternoon. Well, actually,
that's what I meant by late in the draft. Yep. Okay, let's go to Adam Bowers, Brock's brother. Scott, we'll start with you on this one. 3 hammers. Thank you so much. 10-team Superflex, half PPR, 6 point per passing touchdown, start 10, mid-activity level. Dak, Goff, and backups at quarterback. Rashad White, Monty, and Eckler at running back. Amon-Ra, A.J. Brown, DJ Moore, Waddle, T. Rice at wide receiver. Then has Ingram and Kittle. Has the 104, a projected early 25 first and an early second. The second part is going BPA at 104. Okay, going BPA at 104, Daniel's neighbors or Dunze. Advice on how to address QB3, any other moves. He says the league's also discussing adding 2 more teams. We'll save that part for the end. What do you think about this team, Scott? 10-team Superflex, half PPR, 6 point, start 10.
I mean, adding 2 teams is a big deal to whether I would be happy with Jaden Daniels versus I think you could still consider Jaden Daniels anyway, just because he could be a difference maker. But it's probably right now, I'd probably be willing to pass on him for a Dunze in this case. If Neighbors is there, then definitely Neighbors easy over Daniels. So I'm not worried about the QB3, assuming in a 10 team, you can go buy I bet you can go buy Kirk Cousins for late second. You can go get a cheap QB3 if that's what you're really worried about. So I don't want to use premier capital on a QB here. But if we're moving to 12 teams, then it changes the equation where I'm going, okay, I'll take Neighbors or Daniels. I'm not considering a Dunze over Daniels in a 12-teamer. So that's huge. If your team is literally adding 2 teams, then the QB equation changes there.
Yeah, and he did say something nice too. Love the show, y'all rock. What do you think here, Shane? 3 hammers from Adam. It's a 10-team Superflex start 10. Do you agree with what yeah, obviously the moving to 12 team. Let's just take it as is right now. Start 10 or 10 team rather.
But is it definite they're moving the
It looks like it's also discussing adding 2 more teams. That's a big move.
Because like you discussed,
start another league.
Yeah, that's all right. So we'll assume that it's just start 10. So yeah, it's hard not to agree with Scott as much as I've been trying to disagree with him this evening. I'll have to agree with Scott 100%. If it's 12 team, we could talk. 10 team, nah, Scott's on point.
Let's see. Is there anything else? And he did say, "Love the show, y'all rock."
Appreciate that.
Thank you very much. Yeah. I think we pretty much covered it though. Hopefully that helped, Adam. I had a question for you guys. When you're on the clock, we had mentioned Shipley, and yeah, it's always Shipley, Irving, and like Ray Davis. Or, and then there's a 4th 2 in there. Who do you find yourself taking there? I'm diversifying, personally. What do you think, Scott?
One thing I've tried to do, and it's tough because, literally there's so much stuff going on at one time, but I'm trying to take my time when I'm on the clock and really think about what's available versus the league economy that I'm in, the league market that I'm in. And honestly, like we talked about on Destination Chill the other night, after you get past a certain range, 208-ish, all your picks should be based on your league market. Because when we're looking at a board and you're staring at those 4 running backs, you're going to have the rose-colored glasses with their outcomes running through your mind when you're about to pick. You're going, well, this could happen with Ray Davis. This could happen with Will Shipley. Like, you're seeing the positive. But the reality is those outcomes are the unlikely to happen. What's very real is that it doesn't have to happen for somebody else to think it's going to happen. So who can I tell myself a story to where we're heading into the preseason week 2 and people are pumped to see Braylon Allen tote the rock? Whether I think he's going to have a role or not, it really doesn't matter. But what story can I tell myself where I can take that 307 and turn it into a future second? And it's probably not a guy like Ray Davis if the entire community is saying, yeah, he's probably just going to be the second running back in Buffalo. But if he's that, I'll be glad I have him. But there isn't the name cachet to where somebody would buy in. So I'm looking at just trying to draft what my market is going to like. And that can be anything. That could be Spencer Rattler. That could be a receiver that's been buried that has a name.
Could be a boat.
Could be a tight end. It could be, but the focus should be what can I do with this pick, not what player is going to hit. Because those are usually terrible bets. You're talking, 5% outcomes for the players to hit what you're going through your head. Because you're going, man, Will Shipley, he could get this pass-catching Tony Pollard role, and then you're like, reality hits, and it just never was in the cards.
Yeah. Shane, do you have any thoughts here? You're a little bit more players over process. I was asking who you're picking when it's Shipley, Ray Davis, Bucky Irving, but we can save that one. What's another common? Or go ahead, Shane.
No, well, I don't mean to keep pumping Manic and Chill, but you're gonna want to watch that. Me and Scott have. It's a lot of there are a lot of duos. It's like throughout the trade, it's like this or that, like very much so. But just from that perspective, dude, I'm taking Shipley, and at that point, it's kind of like get your guy, and it's a guy that I can see having a significant role in the Eagles' offense. Maybe not year 1, maybe not week 1, but as the season goes on, and it's someone also that is behind a starting running back, and I don't think Shipley will ever take his job, but he is behind a starting running back who has had not the best injury history. So it's definitely someone that I think could get some starts this year. But Ray Davis is fine too as well, because Buffalo has shown that they don't really want to. No one wants to, but they really do want to split that backfield up, right? So both of them are guys that I could Jesus Christmas, English is hard. Those are
good,
both
man.
guys that if things go perfectly, that I could maybe flip for a pretty significant what's the word I'm looking for? Profit. In season. There you go.
Nick has a hammer for us. Scott, we'll start with you on this one. Thank you very much. 12-team Superflex start 10. It's 1.5 for the tight ends. Stroud, Watson at quarterback. Jacobs, Barkley, and Trash at running back. JJ, Lamb, Pittman, Nico, Wicks. Tight end, Hawk. Has a 202, 207, all his future picks. Inbox offer. Stroud, the 203, and Pittman for Mahomes, Rashee Rice, 211, and Zeke. Interesting. 12-team Superflex, start 10, small tight end premium. Scott, go ahead.
All right, so let's break it down. Mahomes or Stroud? I would take Mahomes in a startup, but if you said I wanted one or the other, I'm just going to call those a wash. So let's remove Mahomes and Stroud. So now it's Michael Pittman and the 203 for Rashee Rice, and then the package of Zeke and the 211. Easily Pittman over Rashee Rice. That one's very easy with the current market. So I'm giving up the better receiver. And then I'm sending the 203, which I would say that's still in the tier break of you can do a lot more with the 203 when it's on the clock. It could be Lad McConkey. It could be Keon Coleman. It could be Penix or Nix. 211 and Zeke feels like you're settling. So I can literally see where all three layers of this trade you're losing. So no, I'm not taking this trade. I'm keeping what I have, and I'm willing to just hold for that 203 and see what else I can do with it. But yeah, I'm taking the side I'm already giving away. So decline the trade. That would be my breakdown of it.
Yeah, I agree. I dig it. Shane seems to be shaking his head yes as well. That's such an interesting trade though, because there's even that like little stack action with Mahomes and Rashee Rice that makes you like think about it. But yeah,
I mean, if you could convince yourself to take the Rashee Rice side, if maybe they didn't take Xavier Worthy in the first, and I believe they traded up, right? Even if it's just one pick, they still traded up, right? Maybe then you could convince yourself like, oh, maybe Rashee Rice is going to be that dude.
Here's the counter. I'll give you Stroud and the 203. You give me Rashee Rice and Mahomes. So basically, I'm paying you the 203 for Rashee Rice. And
sure.
If you want that, what I'm not doing is giving Michael Pittman and the 203.
Yeah.
That's Rashee Rice. No thanks.
No, that's egregious.
Just gross. Shay, we're going to start with you on this one. 3 hammers from AJ Seltenreich. This is a 12-team Superflex start 10 PPR 1.75 for the tight ends. Love, Stafford, Rodgers at quarterback. Gibbs, Cook, Pacheco, Mixon, Najee at running back. CD, AJ Brown, Tyreek, Debo. And then at tight end, Kittle. No picks. It says good activity. Overinvested at running back, but is the move to trade Gibbs for more or 1 to 2 of the others for less? Okay. So 12-team Superflex, start 10, tight end premium, Shane.
I mean, in a perfect world, yeah. I'd love to trade Cook and Pacheco and put them together and get a really, really good wide receiver. Do you think that'll happen, Scott, if I try that? If I send that offer out to someone? Here's Cook. Here's Pacheco. You give me, I don't know, give me a name. Let's just say Malik Neighbors.
But I don't need to do it in one move.
No,
I don't need good receivers. Give me 2 firsts for 2 of those running backs in 26, and I'll just stash my 3 firsts. And I bet you can get a 26 first for Isaiah Pacheco, James Cook. Maybe you could add something small to Mixon or Najee. I think you could get a 26 if you're willing just to take it.
Scott's been hanging out with me too long. He's trying to buy picks in 2026. I'm thinking from a perspective of you're probably unlikely to be able to reuse those 26 picks to get a wide receiver for your roster this year. Now, obviously, you can do it in season when someone realizes that they're bad and they want to make some moves. But Gibbs is the one that you don't want to move. It's generally the one you don't want to move is the one that's going to get you the best return.
Now I would move Gibbs if I could get a receiver, and I'll just roll with the other shit balls that I have because I can win with those guys too. If I can turn Gibbs into Puka Nakua, I would roll with that and pair Puka with Stafford, and boom.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm saying. Not Gibbs for just some rando. It's got to be Puka, Malik Neighbors. I already put Malik Neighbors in that. But just looking at his wide receiver room, he's got CD, AJ Brown, and Tyreek and Debo. So it's not like he's hurting at wide receiver. And I don't think he's overweight on running back. I get that, Gibbs, Cook, Pacheco feels like it. I get that it feels like it, but I'm not worried. I'd be okay going into the season with Gibbs, Cook, and Pacheco. And maybe look to move Mixon or Najee. And I know you're not going to get a great return on those two pieces, but that's probably what I'm more apt to do. But if you are going to move Gibbs, it's got to be go send Gibbs for Puka. If you make that deal, then I'm all on board.
The reason I would say he's not overexposed at running back is because if I had a team like this, I would still not roster any dead weight. So my running backs behind those 5 would be another 12 backups and handcuffs. So then you're going, man, do I really need 17 running backs on this roster? And 10 of them are worth nothing until they are. But the ones that are worth something are, Shane, there's going to be some steam out there for Najee Harris and Joe. As we get closer to the season, people are going to start going, man, those guys are going to get a lot of work.
They're going to get the rock, dude. They're going to get volume.
They're going to remember, oh, wait, you remember what Arthur Smith offenses look like? Najee Harris might be in line for 300 opportunities this year. The only thing that can stop him is if Jaylen Warren is just so efficient, which he has been in the past, that they're like, all right, we have to use this guy too, which is also a calling card of Arthur Smith. So probably 225, 230 opportunities. I'd be okay with that from Najee. He doesn't have to be efficient because he won't be, but he'll still give you good fantasy scoring with that.
Let me ask you this, Scott, at the tight end position, it is a 1.75 tight end premium, has Kittle, but would you maybe be looking at moving, a running back or two, or one of those running backs as part of a package and going after like a Kincaid type? Where's your head at with tight end? It's 1.75. He has just Kittle. Go with it.
Yeah, I'd prefer to kind of stack one of my quarterbacks with the tight end. So can I get Colby Parkinson as my second tight end? Like I don't need a great tight end. Just give me another tight end, which is probably not going to be a deal where I'm getting one of those players credit for that in the deal. I'm not moving Najee Harris for Colby Parkinson in a trade. Now, what I would love to do is if I could move one of those running backs for a 26 first and you solve my tight end problem at the same time. Can I get a 26 first and Tyler Conklin and I'll give you James Cook? Like that's a process deal that fits 3 different goals you're trying to accomplish with this team, and you got them all done in one deal. And try to send it. If they say, no, I'm not giving a first for James Cook or Pacheco or Najee, then yeah, they're not going to pay the first. But I would love doing that. Assuming he only has Kittle. He probably has more we didn't list, which is a problem, but you never know.
Never know. So, okay, Big D has energy. Go ahead, Shane.
He got Caleb at 106 in the draft. One, I want to say that's awesome. 2, I want to say leave that league because it is beneath you.
It's a super flex.
I'm assuming
8-team super flex with no quarterbacks required. Something like that.
So it's an all flex, one of those fun. Real quick, remember when that was a thing? There was like 2 years there where we were like, what's fun? Just one starter, and then everything else is flexes. Like you needed one quarterback, one running back, one wide receiver, and everything else was a flex.
Because it does create just everybody just collects players. There's no.
It's a clusterfuck. It
in
really
fact,
is.
I'm going to propose this. I actually think we do our next listener league and we make it one of these with no flexes. 2 QBs, 2 tight ends, 4 receivers, 3 running backs. It's still a start 11, but there is no flexes. You need to construct in a certain way. Otherwise, you have holes.
All right, start it up. I'm in.
Yeah, no, I'm done. And we do have to make good on a listener league. I see emails sprinkle through, and they're always funny. It's like, Clay, sorry to bother you. It's like, no, I get it, man. Like, this is a listener league that, yeah, it's like a month or so removed from that stream. Anyway, I dig it. Try to
I'm in that league.
DTI 5, no flex. something like that.
No flex. I like it. I'm quitting another MFL league tonight.
Oh, good for you. Cheers. You can take off early tonight if you want. Celebrating. No. Okay, let's go to we'll humor him. Joe from the crowd. Thank you for the question. He says 1 QB. Humor me. Okay. 6 point per passing touchdown, 12 teams start 8, 35 man roster. Shane, let's start with you.
Why?
Yeah, I know. It's talk about an inefficient market. Good
wait,
Lord.
I'm not great with math, but that's 4 times the amount of starters is your roster size. So you have basically
Almost
3 full teams that are of no use to you just sitting on your roster. But anyway, go ahead.
Yes.
Said, got in a huge fight with my friends over draft weekend where I took Caleb at 110 to be my QB2 behind Mahomes. Am I crazy or bad value? What do you think there?
I mean, I would have went Jaden Daniels because in a league like this where it's only start 8, I want a dude that's going to put up,
in a 6 point, that doesn't make a difference.
Numbers.
You'd still go Jaden over Caleb.
I still want the guy that can rush for 100 yards in 1 game and 2 rushing touchdowns. That just put up, he threw for 150 yards, but he still put up 35 points in fantasy that week. There's a select few of players that can do that, and I think Jaden Daniels is probably in that range. It's start 8. I mean, I don't know that I would have done it. No matter of fact, I know I wouldn't have done it. But at 110, you're also drafting a player like I like Brian Thomas Jr. But do we predict him to be a top?
In a 1 QB, this is like Ricky Pearsall, Xavier Legette range. It's 9 skill.
I'm sorry. So it's even worse than that. Yeah. I'm sorry. It's even worse than that. You're right. I can't be mad at you. I would have preferred you take Daniels, but I can't be mad at you for taking Caleb here. Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. 1 QB. My mind's always like, 2 QBs. That means I'm going to get Brian Thomas Jr. here. No, I'm not. I'm absolutely not. You're right. I'm getting Ricky Pearsall.
The crazy thing is it caused a huge fight. I mean, of all the things in the world to fight over, that sounds like somebody at 112 that had to have Caleb and they didn't get him, and now they're going like, "What are you doing?" It just
if you have that kind of passion in your league, we will humor you on the 1 QB. We don't league shame, but if you've got that kind of passion, start a new one, start a super flex. Oh man, it'll be way more
starters, less roster spots. I mean, it's like saying, man, I had a blowout in one of my leagues where I had a huge fight and we had to cancel the league over that 303. That's like the equivalent of what we're fighting over.
I would want to be in a league with people that fight that what's the word I'm looking for? Like to have that much vigor about a 303 that it's ready to come to blows.
You lose on a waiver claim and you go to that person's house like that. Aggressive league. Okay. Everybody's just crushing Jaeger bombs. Steven Ball so hard. Thank you for the 3 hammers. Scott, we'll start with you on this one. 10 team superflex PPR, 6 point per passing touchdown, start 9. Burrow and Lawrence at QB, JT Henry at running back, Chase, AJ Brown, Evans, Amari, and then at tight ends, Ingram, Kincaid, and Mayer. Traded Mahomes and Marquise Brown for Burrow, Chase, 25, 101, or 102. And he says, focus RB in 2025. Been rebuilding for the past 3 years. How comfortable are we with AJ Brown? With the Eagles having Barkley and just pay D. Smith, have all future picks, only a 24 third though. Okay, so cleaning this up for you, Scott. 10 team superflex, start 9, 6 point per passing touchdown.
First of all, I don't care. I'm cutting Scott off here.
That trade is just bonkers.
Don't come asking me about trade at Mahomes and Marquise Brown for Burrow, Chase, and the 25.
So this is a pay to brag. Stephen Ball so hard did pay to brag here. So.
You won that trade.
He traded with. He
Shane's
still aggressive.
Shane's still aggressive after the last question where people are getting fired up about Mahomes trades. Go ahead, Scott.
I was gonna say Steven just smacked this league mate with his balls about as hard as you can in this deal because he got back the 101 and 102 next year on top of the most valuable player in the trade is Chase and a 10-teamer. You still get Burrow back for Mahomes, and now you have the top 2 picks next year, and you gave up Hollywood Brown as the tax. I mean, yeah, if all rebuilders could get
just to make sure, so that's the 101 or 102.
Not
you
both,
know that
but still.
you know that, right? Not
okay,
both. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
It does. Okay.
Still, I mean, still,
the
it's
tax is a little
smash.
lower, but of all the options you could get in a team where you're trying to rebuild, and then this lands in your inbox, you go, wow, my rebuild just kicked up a year. Now I can contend versus rebuild another year. I mean, that's a contending team he has.
Yeah.
In a 10-teamer, I mean, it's not guaranteed to win, but I'm looking at in a 10-team start 9. It's got a legit lineup, and I have the pick next year. I mean, yeah, let's go.
Yeah, that stack 6 point with Burrow and Chase. Go ahead, Shane.
Yeah, and then he's asking if there's concern about AJ Brown because Devonta Smith just got paid and they signed Saquon Barkley, but it might have gotten lost in the draft news. But AJ Brown's the highest paid wide receiver in football right now because the Eagles re-upped him.
Yeah, he got paid
Thursday night. Yeah, he's literally the highest paid wide receiver by AAV. Now, obviously, that's going to change. But the Eagles said, okay, we gave Devonta his money. Now we need to go make sure that AJ Brown, who's a little mercurial, we need to make sure he's not upset. So what we're going to do is make him the highest paid wide receiver in the history of football. I would say there's no concern with AJ Brown, even with the addition of Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, my concern is just how he's a fit for some rosters, but not everyone's, because he's just not the most liquid in the world. Everybody finds a reason, or not everybody finds a reason, but everybody can find a reason not to like him. So I don't know.
He's approaching the
27
Adams, Diggs, Cup range from like 3 years ago, where it's mostly a production bet. Probably one more year where AJ Brown is a top 8-10 receiver. After that, it's going to be, man, he's getting old. He always gets a little nicked up, but now he's 28. He'll be 29, and I got to get off of him, And then you're going, yeah, but you're probably trading away 3 more years of top 12 production. So I don't have a lot of AJ Brown, but I can see myself in 2025 through 2027 having a lot of AJ Brown.
You should be buying AJ Brown right now. If there's even a depressed market, and I don't know, let's say, would you give up, if you could get AJ Brown and a 26 first, would you give up Jamar Chase, Scott?
No, I wouldn't. I'm not Scott, but go ahead.
No, I think it's a process bet where you're probably betting on a 3-year window of I can get good production very close to what I'm giving up, and I'm getting a first. I think it would depend on my economy. What I'd rather do is trade. Can I trade the pick that I'm about to draft, Rome Odunze, and a 25 first for AJ Brown and a 26 first? And all I do is basically pay the year tax. But I don't care because I still have a liquid first. But I'm essentially trading a Odunze for AJ Brown, which you're probably not going to be able to do. But you know what? In a year, you could see people going, I'd much rather have Rome Odunze than AJ Brown. That's just how his value is going to go.
But if you always made that bet, I will give you up. I will give you the 104, 105 for an AJ Brown type wide receiver. That's in that age range of 26, where they're getting less sexy, right? Like a 30-year-old woman, not quite as hot as they used to be, but okay. But still produces, right? 30-year-old women really do produce. He's going to still produce as a wide receiver 1, probably for the next, I'll be conservative, 4 years. If you made that bet every rookie draft, now there's only a finite amount of players you can do that with, you would win. So, but say you made that bet this year with AJ Brown. Here's my 105. Give me AJ Brown. Made that bet again with CD Lamb in 2 years. Here's my 105. Give me CD Lamb. You will consistently smack people around in your league. And you'll miss on some of the rookies, but definitely not as many as you would think.
Scott, we've got a hammer from Joe Kremp. It is a 10-team Superflex start 11, 1.75 for the tight ends. Lawrence, Sam Darnold, and Drew Lock at quarterback. Monty, Chase Brown. What a team here, boy. Lawrence, Sam Darnold, Lock. Then has Monty, Chase Brown, Akers.
God, it's just every receiver hopium. Jeez.
As QJ, Shaheed, Dobbs, Dotson, JMO, and Samuel. It's got the 202, 205, 7-9, and then a couple thirds, 125 first, and 5 seconds. I hope that's your 25 first. 326 first and 4 seconds. So it does have a bunch of future capital. Have a couple of offers for Montgomery. Well, Lord knows you should probably take one of these. Listen to me talking my way through this. I got to shut up. First one is Montgomery and the 209 for Addison. The next one is Montgomery, Chase Brown, and a 26 second for Zay Flowers. Currently beginning rebuilding. What do you think here, Scott? 10 team, Superflex, start 11, 1.75 for the tight ends. This trade, Monty and the 209 for Addison.
I like both of those trades. This team is in a lot of trouble. It has literally no assets that I'd be willing to bank on past this year, aside from Trevor Lawrence. So anything you can do, go back and watch Shane Says from a couple weeks ago, where Shane literally talked through how to fix a team, not necessarily fix a team this bad, but how to get out of the purgatory of I have a bunch of assets. He literally listed a roster that is all guys valued as seconds or thirds or lower. There's no premier capital other than Lawrence and his own firsts and the extra ones that he has in 23. But that's it. So, I mean, anything you can do to turn all your shit into a Zay Flowers or a Jordan Addison or anything, I'd rather have that, because then I can at least turn those guys probably into a 26 first and a kickstart actually building of something that has substance versus, I mean, what you couldn't put a player on the trade block off this roster right now and probably get anything. You could say, I'll give you 3 players for a first on here and nobody would take it. So if you can get a player worth a first, you can't add too much to this.
Is that Debo Samuel? That's not Curtis Samuel.
Curtis.
It's got to be Curtis.
He would have listed Debo way at the beginning.
Yeah. Debo. He would have just bypassed the quarterbacks.
I think you could probably add a 202 to JMO and get a first.
Sure.
111.
But let's go to those deals, because that's what he asked. I mean, both of those deals are a smash. Unfortunately, they both involve David Montgomery, so I have to pick my lane. I can only take one. I think I'd rather give up Montgomery, Chase Brown in the second for Zay Flowers, but you could also do the first one where you're just giving up the 209 this year and take Jordan Addison. It depends on what you think about Addison versus Flowers. What do you think, Shane? Which one would you take?
Addison or Flowers?
Well, and think about it this way. The 26 second is probably more desirable to you than the 209, unless the 209 is a player you can also do a flip deal with. And I do have to give up Chase Brown in the second deal, which could be a guy I could sell for a second later on. So I think I prefer the first one.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think Addison, I don't know what the KTC rankings are. I just know the general vibe, I would think, around
They're
Addison.
similar.
He feels like an easier sell to me, especially now that he has probably one of the best quarterbacks in the history of football joining the roster, and JJ McCarthy. So.
I think I would try to get something small back on the first one. I don't want to get cute though. If that's in my inbox, I'm giving Monty.
Someone wants David Montgomery and they're giving me something good.
Exactly. That's why it's
don't mess around and have the person
cute.
realize, man, I probably don't need to trade this guy a good piece because David Montgomery is useless to him.
Because I'm rebuilding. I don't want to give 2-for-1s, but again, you just need an asset, like a good asset that you can do something with at some point.
Unfortunately, the problem with this team is if I was trading with this team, I would look at his team and know he's so desperate, I wouldn't really even offer anything good. I'd just be like, I'll give you a bunch of thirds and a bunch of seconds, but I'm not giving you a good asset for shit, especially in a 10-teamer. But yeah, don't get cute. Just take it.
Just take it. We've got 332 eyeballs in here tonight. We are an hour and 8 minutes in. Holy rookie draft madness, Batman. It's been a lot of fun. Everybody look down real quick, see if you're on the clock. So we'll keep going here. Did I already say hit that like? If you'd be so kind, easiest way to help out the channel? No, I didn't.
But do it.
I just did. Hit the like.
Please like our show.
Like. Shane, have you hit the like yet?
I did. I shared on the Facebook. I shared on the Twitters, X, and I shared on the Mix It Up. It's another site. I'm not really sure what it is, but whatever. I share there all the time.
Okay, let's keep going. Mix it up. You don't even know what it is, and you share our shit.
Yeah, it's just whatever. I don't care. If I could share our link on dating sites, I would just do that. You know what I mean? Like if I probably could just
Did
put
you
the
Shane
link
put
in my
shares the
roster
bio.
show on
reviews?
Bumble.
Yeah, I'm about to put the link in my bio, to be honest with you. Who cares? I'm not getting any dates out of it. So I might as well just put the link up and hope someone clicks on that. Yeah, I don't care. I'll go on Grindr. I'll go on Bumble. I'll go on Now's Our Time, Plenty of Fish, the one for the Cowboys. All of them. All of
Do
them.
you do roster reviews on your OnlyFans as well?
I do, but naked. So it's weird. It's very weird. Yeah.
Going over war in your undies. And if you get tips, then you take them off. Oh, I wish I was
Anatomy
on
of a Dynasty roster.
Oh, so mature. So let's go to this one from Ryan C in the crowd. Thank you for the question. Scott, who is this year's Jerome Ford or worth majority of your fab? Who comes to mind? Is this like aforementioned Chase Brown potentially? What are some names that could fit this?
I mean, it's kind of an unfair question because literally the guy ahead of Jerome Ford suffered like a career-altering injury, which you can't project. So I'll just pivot and say there's probably dozens of names, but this is the importance of constructing your team so that you have as many shots at the next Jerome Ford before you have to pay all of your fab for Jerome Ford. If we're talking dynasty, you're probably looking at pretty deep for somebody to have. Like Jerome Ford wasn't on waivers last year in dynasty. So if you're talking redraft, it's a different story, but he was even rostered in redraft because he was still the clear backup. So I don't know. I think it's more of find some at backfields that nobody really knows what's going on with them right now. Like the Giants come to mind. There's probably a giant running back on waivers in your dynasty league because there's literally 4 of them behind Devin Singletary, and nobody knows who it is, and everyone thinks the team's going to suck, so they're fine leaving Deion Jackson or Eric Gray even still on waivers. So, I mean, looking for players like that where you think they're buried and all it takes for them is something to happen where they're on a roster and then they're an injury away.
Yeah, it seems like just be active and get them and hope to hope to get.
Like as soon as your rookie drafts ended, you should have been on your waiver wires, putting in bids on whatever running backs are out there, especially ones that have went undrafted in your rookie draft. If you have 3 rounds like us, it's such a good idea. You know why? Because now there's players on the waiver wire that people actually care about. But anywho, sorry. Farmers market, definitely not farmers market. Because that's where you sell produce and things, but I definitely didn't put it there. And then where's my? You getting rid of all my starred ones? No, it's right here. And then Josh says, "What about Reddit?" No. I've had early in my fantasy football career, I've had bad experiences on Reddit. They are very mean on there. They make Twitter look really nice. Like they are some very, very, very angry, mean people sometimes.
I really want to get somebody to infiltrate Reddit for us. Someone who knows the ins and outs, because I know it's kind of squirrely. You can only promote this and this there. But people say, "Oh yeah, they were talking about you on Reddit." I was like, man, that's like this massive untapped.
It is.
It's a huge community.
If it goes south, it goes south quickly.
So we don't put it in your hands, basically.
Yeah, don't let me handle it because you know me, I'm a promotion whore. I'll just put it out there and blast it on everybody's page, and they will shadow ban me everywhere, and then really ban me because I don't even know what shadow ban means. Good, sorry.
That's what happens when you're doing naked roster reviews.
Yeah.
So this one is from Rob 3 Hammers. This one is it's obsolete now. The question was, thanks for the work, fellas. What landing spots make the most sense for the top 3 wide receivers? Let me just say this, Shane, before you chime in. Rob Z33. Email Roman at dynastytradesand5.com and give us a fresh one. We'll switch it out for you. But he said also, what's a good landing spot for a specific later wide receiver of choice, like which guy for, say, Buffalo, Kansas City, etc. Just give a couple thoughts in the meantime here. What came to mind, Shane?
Love Brian Thomas Jr.'s landing spot. I love Keon Coleman's landing spot. And the more the kid talks, the more I love Keon Coleman for multiple reasons. He's talking himself into being a viable fantasy asset just because he's fun. I don't think I'm going to go surprise anyone. That Marvin Harrison landing spot, not bad. Not bad at all, John, right? That's a good landing spot right there. So, Scott, anyone besides you, I picked some really obvious ones. And I like Xavier Legette in Carolina.
I think if we're playing narrative, I think Jalen Polk is one that you can get in the mid-second that I don't really like Jalen Polk. I'm one of those that'll say, the Patriots drafted him too high relative to what's in the class. Doesn't matter, though. He's somebody that could produce right away, which if you can get him at the 207, 208, could be a guy where you can add a third to and get a first. And you're out on a profile you didn't love, but it's somebody that you think could probably flip pretty quick. Then you can just attach yourself to the hopium or you can tell yourself the narrative on some of the other spots. Definitely Jermaine Burton. When Higgins leaves, definitely Troy Franklin because he's matched up with Bo Nix. So, like, whether those guys are good or not, it doesn't matter. Again, you're drafting them in a range where you're going, I can tell myself a story where people are in, so you want to have a couple of those. I struggle to see the path for A.D. Mitchell to be somebody that people have to have. I struggle to see the path for even Ricky Pearsall unless Ayuk is traded. So you have to pay a little bit more for that same type of bet that you would with Burton and with Troy Franklin. So it's interesting. It's a very interesting question. Send us a fresh one, but I think that type of analysis is good if you're just looking to what can I do with this pick. Those should be your tiebreakers.
So actually, where was it? Sorry, I teased T-Law shampoo there. We'll see if we even get to that one. That one tonight. That's one of our boys. Assuming it's a boy, but this is one of our boys. He is in the Discord, patreon.com/allgas. You should check us out. Join the Discord. Have a chance to get into listener leagues and such. Kookski, you have no business sending us 5 hammers because they literally get this all day in the Discord. So, however, we will answer it for you, sir, of course. 12-team Superflex PPR, 1.5 for the tight end, start 11. Allen, Hurts, Minshew, Brissett at quarterback. K9, Cook, Brian Robinson, Chandler, Zamir, Charbonnet at running back. Chase, Ayuk, Olave, Kupp, and Adams, along with Evans. Has Njoku, the 207 and 309. He said, did 2 big trades, and the net outcome is, and we'll start with you, Scott, sent T-Law and Purdy in the 104. Let me reread. That's going to sound horrific. Sent T-Law, Purdy, the 104, Kyron, and Flowers. Got Josh Allen, Ayuk, Olave, and the 207. Thoughts on the moves from value, construction, etc.? It is a 12-team Superflex start 11. Scott, small tight end premium.
I hate to disagree, but I'm taking the T-Law, Purdy, 104, Kyron Williams, Zay Flowers side over the Allen, Olave, Ayuk, and the 207. I mean, I know you're giving up the best player, but arguably the next 3 best assets you gave up, and you still didn't give up nothing with Kyron and Zay Flowers. So I'm taking the I don't like the aggregate of what he did with his 2 deals. I'd rather have what he has now. And we don't know maybe the context behind how both came together and if he knew one was going to happen when he made the other one, but I think I'd prefer the side he gave up, truthfully. I think I can do more with that side.
Go ahead, Shane.
Yeah, I mean, really not much to add. You gave up, sure, you got Allen, but you gave up T-Law and Purdy. So 2 top, well, T-Law's 13 last I checked, but 2 top 13 dynasty quarterbacks and the 104 and Kyron and Flowers. I mean, even if you just go 1 for 1, is it T-Law and Purdy for Allen? I don't know what side.
I mean, I think you would take Kyron and Flowers for like Ayuk. You could wash them away, right?
Right.
So now
104 over Olave. Yeah, it's just I don't like it, but that's, here's a weird thing though, is that sometimes and I've done this before where I've done multiple trades and I've won each of the trades. At least that's the consensus. But when I put them together, I go, wait a minute, this does not look like I've won these trades. Like as a
when you look at the net,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's a 4-point per passing touchdown as well, and there's some sort of stacking action going on. But Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
and let
good shit.
me just point this out too. He gave up basically Zay Flowers in this deal, which means he's betting on Jacoby Myers and Khalil Shakir sliding in as usable receivers in a start 11. So I think it might be more, I feel comfortable with my construction. So just to his part about construction, I think his construction is fine. So if you're convicted about that, I'm okay making a deal. I just don't I think you could have done more, but I don't think the deal took him out of the construction because he essentially combined T-Law and Purdy to get Josh Allen to combine with Jalen Hurts. You know what I mean? Like, I'm fine with that. It's just the other stuff you had to give up to get there. Could you have done something different? And maybe he'll say, yeah, I was trying to add 104 to T-Law and the Allen told me manager to go pound. He told me to go pound it. So like I couldn't get a difference making QB for anything less. This was the only path, and that's what he wanted to do. So I'm fine with that part.
Yeah, we'll keep it going in the Discord. Shane, are you seeing something horrifying right now?
No,
You
what?
good? Because you were like covering your eyes, like nice shadow going.
My contacts are absolutely just. I don't know what's going on with them today. My allergies must be acting up because they're literally like just falling out of my eyes. So I can't really see much of what's going on.
Your eyes are just rejecting the contact lenses.
Basically.
Awesome. Let me clean this one up here.
9:58, only a couple more minutes, kids.
Yep, only a couple more minutes, kids, indeed. Oh, I have so many more drafts starting tomorrow too. This is a fun time of year though. Somebody was putting something up at the same time. Go ahead, Shane.
I don't remember what it was now.
You just clicked it, like literally just clicked it. Your cursor's still there, probably, right?
Here, Angel. He put in 5 hammers on night 1 of the draft. Just wondering if it was red yet. I would go with absolutely not. Although it might have been red on the stream. Like, didn't we do?
No, if he just put it in that night, it's not. We haven't gotten to it yet.
Exactly. No, it's not done.
No, but we're definitely getting there. And I set up a stream with myself and Randall Memphis Young from Dynasty Warzone for tomorrow night. He is he's a trip, man. So we're gonna knock out some on there as well. It should be a lot of fun. Good old Memphis. So let's put up gins though. We're only gonna do a couple more. This was started from earlier. In a 10-team start 12 PPR 2.0 for the tight ends. Shane, starting with you here.
Okay, I'll pay attention.
Does the amount of tight ends you want to roster change from 2? Wondering because I have Pitts, Musgrave, Kraft, and considering Bowers at the 104 or 106. 10-team start 12. It's 2.0 for tight end, Shane.
So he wants to know, does the amount of tight ends you want to roster change from 2 when it's still just start 1? Still just start 1.
Yeah, it's still start 1.
All right. The 2s are just like all over the place for me. So I didn't know if it was 2 starting 2 as well, but 2-point tight end premium. I don't know that the number of tight ends I want to roster changes, but I know that the tight ends that I want to roster need to be better than Kraft and Musgrave. I forget which one of them popped at the end of last year because they're interchangeable to me. I'd probably be looking to move them based off the
Musgrave was on IR, so
it was Kraft. Yeah, whatever. One of them was playing well, got hurt, and then the other one played well in his place. It was just a cut and paste.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Man up.
Well, Scott will know this better than me, actually. But there's a certain level of tight end that would be better than other flex options. But I have a feeling it's not as deep as you would think it is. So unless you're getting, let's say, Brock Bowers, Kyle Pitts, and I don't know, throw one of the other top 6 tight ends in there, I don't know that I want to roster just like 45 tight ends just because it's 2.0 tight end premium.
So 45 seconds. The answer is yes, but only within a certain threshold. It's probably top 15 to 18. The problem with Kraft and Musgrave is both of them have enough value, but I'm not convicted on which one I want. I've tried to pair them and get a different tight end. Give me Dalton Schultz. Give me Jake Ferguson. Just get me out of the business of those two when I have them both. If you have conviction, then sell the other one. Just get rid of the other one. The answer on Bowers is Bowers in a 10-team start 12 in a 2 PPR he's basically equivalent to like Malik Neighbors. Like you can flex him with the same rate in a 2 PPR league. So I'm fine taking Bowers. It then gives you Pitts and Bowers, which is awesome because you have a guaranteed flex there. So really you're just thinking about tight ends here as flexes. But what you don't want to do, and you're kind of doing it with this question, you don't want to draft Eric All and Theo Johnson and all. You don't want to collect low end or shitty tight ends because it's 2 PPR. They're just roster cloggers. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, you can flex them. If you pick up a Freiermuth or Goddard or something like that, they're flexes. They're just as good of flexes as
look at
Rashee
what
Rice,
they score.
Zay Flowers. And the only difference is if your league doesn't value tight end and you're going, man, if I draft Brock Bowers over Malik Neighbors, they'll never give me the value for Brock Bowers relative to their scoring, then you should be out there buying the Pat Freiermuths, Dallas Goddards, Dalton Schultz, because they should be dirt cheap. You should be able to sell, Deontay Johnson for Jake Ferguson because the league, quote unquote, doesn't value the tight end properly. So take advantage of it one way or the other.
We have 3 hammers from Chill Trav. Scott, we'll start with you on this one. This is a 12-team Superflex, and thank you, Chill Trav. 12-team Superflex tiered PPR, 6-point per passing touchdown, start 10. And when we say tiered PPR, if anyone's wondering about that, what is it? Said running backs get a smaller PPR, wide receivers get a little bit more. Graduated tends to be.
Well, usually it's the wide receiver that gets a higher PPR. Usually it's
right.
And then the tight end
and
gets
then the tight end gets a 2.0. So it's like 1.52, whatever the case may be. It's tiered depending on position. Mahomes, Burrow at quarterback, Hall, Gibbs, Connor, and Warren at running back, CD, Puka, DJ Moore, Ayuk, Metcalf, Devontae Smith, and Hollywood. Has McBride, Pitts at tight end. The 103, 5, and then just has a third and a 25 first that he's calling mid. What's my trade/draft path to win to an Empire Pot winner? Just got Burrow and Hall this offseason. Draft the best wide receiver and QB available. What do you think here, Scott? 12-team Superflex tiered PPR start 10.
I mean, dude, this team's ridiculous. You have
It's
7 of the top 20 players in Dynasty. You have the 103 and
it's
5.
like perfect construction too, right, Scott? Doesn't it seem like it? Like has Devonta Smith, like Hollywood's, like you need some of those for, and DK got great threshold wide receivers. Sorry, I cut you off, but it's like studly construction too.
You have Hall, Gibbs, Warren, Connor. You probably have, if you have good construction, you have a bunch of running backs. Probably have some backup quarterbacks. You have 7 top 40 receivers, and you have the 103 and the 105. What I'm probably not doing here is drafting Jaden Daniels just for the value in an Empire pot. But the team doesn't really have a need. So, I mean, is there somebody willing? This would be one of the circumstances where you go, all right, I'm willing to trade 103 and 105, and I'm willing to do that for, can I get Jamar Chase? Because I have Burrow. Can I get Justin Jefferson? Like it's got to be 1 or 2 specific players. I assume he's tried that. It's not working. So I'm fine just taking who can give me the most points over the next 2 years, Shane. It's probably Malik Neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's Jaden Daniels. I don't know. But I mean, I'm looking just strictly at Empire Pot. Give me the most points. What I don't want to do is draft Drake May and go, I'll just hold him and I'll use him as a trade chip in an Empire League. If he's not good right away, like who cares if you have an asset? It's probably not going to be much you can do with it.
I just want to address this part of it because I was looking at McBride at tight ends, and you had said, can you get the Burrow Chase stack? I was looking at McBride, and it's like, do I want to get Kyler? But then I already see he has Hollywood and McBride. Like, there's a little bit of redundancy there. Is there anything you would do in
no,
that
Hollywood's,
case?
Hollywood's in Kansas City.
Oh, you dumb shit, Clay. Yeah, that's time to go. What did I say? The other night I was with someone, and yeah, Stephon Diggs was still a bill. Go ahead, Scott.
I mean, his construction is like his lineup as is more than enough to where your starting requirements versus what you're having to click start every week. Like you're going, man, I never started Jalen Warren or Devontae Smith or Hollywood Brown or Kyle Pitts. Like that's where you're at. Like those guys are on your bench. So, I mean, the team is so good that I hate to say it, but outside of this being a start 12, it's just going to come down to, and you know what? Maybe as we're thinking on the fly, in an Empire League, given that I'm guessing the trading is going to be very neutered in terms of like, if everyone knows you're about to win the league,
Nobody's
it's going to
trading your
be,
shit.
man, sorry,
Yeah.
I know Kyle Pitts is injured, but I'm not giving you anything for him to help you. So maybe you do you get a little more depth in an Empire League, knowing your flexibility is going to be frozen out if it looks like you're about to close the league out. Now, I have seen people say in Empire Leagues, people actually want it to end. So they're more willing to give you stuff. Like, dude, if you're going up against this team, don't you almost want the league to start over? You know what I mean? Like, his team's stacked. So if I'm a rebuilder in the Empire League, am I ever catching this roster? Probably not. So, like,
yeah, you're letting the other
let's
team score so that you
expedite
can
the
have extra time.
destruction of the nation, so we can start over.
So it's not collusion, but if someone's given up, it's kind of like collusion because they're just going to collude with you without even saying anything. Like, sure, just here, just do it, just end it.
It's seeing your worst enemy choking, and you go, man, I just didn't see it. You know, you didn't kill them, but you didn't stop them from dying either. That's what it sounds like.
That's the only thing Clay just disgusted for himself.
Yep.
And then yelling at himself mid-yawn. Yeah. I just want to. Yeah, I don't feel like I can edit this. Let's. Mike Gleb. Just quick thoughts here. Mike Gleb put this on here. Very good looking picture. Very good looking couple, apparently. Scott, or Shane rather, got Bowers at the 107 and a 12 team Superflex start 11 2.0 tight end premium. Wow.
That's ridiculous.
As gross as some people think the landing spot or whatever is, or
I mean, that's a conversation for not 10:08 at night. I am perplexed and befuddled by why everyone is down on Bowers. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, and a 2.0, that's great value. So, all right, y'all. We love you. We appreciate you. Hit that like if you'd be so kind before you bounce. Would you like to say bye, guys?
I mean, in a tactful way, I'll say join the Discord. There's a ton going on. There's a ton of actionable trades and strategies going down regarding rookie drafts. So if there's literally a month where you would say, I'm going to try it out.
Yeah.
And see if it actually helps me over the next couple weeks with my drafts. Like, there's going to be somebody in there. I'm going to actually try to be in there a little more this week just to kind of do some impromptu jump up on the stages and just take people's rookie draft questions, not roster construction, trades, just rookie draft. Like, hey, I have a draft coming up. I have the 104 and the 108. I'm trying to figure out how to maneuver the board, and then we can figure out what format it is. So if like that specific thing is interesting, I think this is the month to join. This is the busiest month where the most changes, and humble brag, but once you're in there, you're not going to want to leave. So try it out. Patreon.com/allgas, destinationdebbie.com.
Yep. Yeah, I'd say join the D5 tier. I won't even be tactful. I'll put it to you blunt. You're a patron of ours. You join the D5 tier. You're also in the Heisman tier. You're going to get better at fantasy football. I don't know how else to put it. You're also going to get a ton of content. I know everyone saw us do the draft stream. And immediately after those streams went off the air, Scott went into the voice chat and talked for another 4 hours. Each night. And then, we had the morning drive this morning. Like, it's literally just, it's a ton of content. Like, you get your bang for your buck, or the buck for your bang, or whatever you call it. So, yeah, join that. Great month to do it.
You get the buck for your bang. That's the perfect way to end with a bang here. All right. We appreciate you all. We'll see you. Stop on by tomorrow at 9 p.m. EST. I'll be on with Memphis Dynasty Warzone. It will be a good time. Cheers, everyone.